GM Kent Philly here. It's May 12th, 2023. Excited that you're back with us. This is the StakeRocketPool team and channel where we're going over the current upcoming Rocket Pool governance proposals. There's two that we have coming up. We also have a new team who've joined us in our token governance program. So without further ado, I want to pass it over to Izzy to introduce herself, and then Cole. And after their introductions, we'll jump into the two open proposals to hear their feedback. So without further ado, pass it over to you, Izzy.
Yep. Hi, everyone. My name's Izzy. I'm a very recent graduate of Northeastern University, where I was one of the directors of governance for our university blockchain club. And with that role, we worked on the FAY protocol, which turned into the Tribe DAO. And then for the past year, we've been working with Optimism. What else? I interned for Flipside Crypto as well last year on their governance team. So that was a big insight and leap into sort of working in the space. And yeah, I'm really happy to join this group and look forward to working with everyone.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Izzy. Cole Schendel, founder of 44 DAO as well as Blockchain Georgia Tech. Happy to be representing Georgia Tech as a part of this university program. Founded that club about 2 years ago in fall of 2021. Now we run 44 DAO, so we do a conference governance with Arbitrum, Optimism, Rocket Pool, and DYDX, and then we also have an accelerator that's launching this summer. Overall, been involved in space for 2 to 3 years. Excited to talk about these Rocket Pool initiatives.
Thanks so much. Really excited to have your guys' collective knowledge and efforts. We all bring something different to the table. I'll share my screen now. And is everyone able to see the Rocket Pool snapshot?
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. So we're doing this recording in a two-part segment. We met with our University of Cincinnati colleague RegexBuster, or Ben, last week, and he has helped us. He's currently the admin on our Snapshot. We're looking for a couple more universities to join us. Let us know if you're interested. But thus far, we're working with 4 universities, and we're excited to go over our analysis or their thoughts on these two proposals that end tomorrow. So the first one is the ODAO Health Clarity. So this is RIP, so that's Rocket Pool Improvement Proposal 19, and the details of that are right here. At the end, we'll cover what UC's thoughts are with RegexBuster. At this point, I'd like to pass it over to Cole for your thoughts and pass it to Izzy after that.
Yeah, I think with this proposal, it's pretty straightforward. Overall, the goal is to have better data tracking in terms of who's voting, and currently most voters are rushing to vote in order to hit consensus, and then the vote closes, which in reality of governance, we want to see who's participating, who's not participating, and rather governance be in the state of like an NFT drop where people are rushing to mint. I don't think that it would be prudent for Rocket Pool to have a similar style with their governance. So overall, just extending the timeline for the consensus vote, as well as seeing who's participating, who's not participating, gives the DAO a better view on how to increase the health of who is participating, how we can get people that aren't participating more involved, and overall just have better communication streams across all channels.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Sorry, I had to mean to interrupt.
Please do.
Yeah, no, I definitely second what Cole said. And I mean, also just getting access to the information of when participants are voting and the time, I think that's also extremely helpful for the DAO, because on the one hand, you can see why participants would perhaps be waiting a little closer to the deadline, in that, they want to utilize all information that's out there. But at the same time, waiting too close can actually just be a hindrance. And then, of course, some participants may not be voting at all. So yeah, similar point, but just having that transparency and being able to draw reasons for why people are or aren't voting and at what time they do it, only helps the DAO in coming up with ways to increase participation in the future.
Yeah, that's really helpful feedback. Izzy, have you done some research previously on like governance voting?
Yeah, so I wanna say it wasn't solely me, but yeah, so this was last year with using Flipside crypto data. And the conclusion was that most governance participants actually vote. The average comes out as 2 days before the deadline, which is pretty interesting because you might think it would be the day before, or even in the first day, but no, the average was 2 days before closing, which is actually what we're doing today. But yeah.
Cool, that's exactly right. Really enjoyed hearing your thoughts as well, Cole. Just, improving the analytics is the one-liner thought for me, and then way more context there on how that could affect the network. Izzy, great stuff. So moving on to the second, do you have anything further? Sorry.
Yeah, just one, I guess, closing point is like, we already know governance is something that a lot of times is pulling teeth to try to get people to participate. So making it easier for people to participate is always a plus. So good to see RegexBuster moving in this direction to making it easier for people to participate, as well as track that data to make better decisions.
Love it. So moving on to the second proposal, which is number 20. This one is a bit complicated. RegexBuster's section kind of highlights it, and you can see his long notes further on why he thinks it's a 4. You can see he's already put his vote here, passing it to, this is the first time that Izzy has joined us, so she wasn't able to get as much prep as some of us others on the team here, but I want to pass it to you and to Cole and see if you have any thoughts on the proposal 20, expanding the IMC charter around the.
Yeah, so I like Ken said, I haven't fully read up on this proposal, but I'm definitely leaning to agree with Ben and the vote so far to vote in favor, because I do think that the ratio for RETH to ETH is more important than RPL. And yeah, as a liquid staking protocol, the liquid stake product should be the priority. But yeah, Cole, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, I mean, the liquid aspect of a liquid staking derivative is probably the most important part. But overall, I think looking at who the investor would be if they are in RETH versus running a node, it's probably going to be a smaller investor. So having something that is liquid is very important for making sure that people that are getting exposure to this ETH in this kind of way can move in and out of it effectively. And overall, for just the health of the entire ecosystem and making sure that RETH is a strong pair is just overall good for liquidity, good for health of the ecosystem, especially as we go through times where liquidity is going to dry up. Not not forecasting out, but you never know what could happen over the next 6 to 12 months. I believe Rocket Pool is actually one of the few protocols that has increased TVL over the past month. It might be the only one. But overall, just continuing to take steps in the right direction for supporting the participants in the ecosystem. And I think supporting our ETH to ETH liquidity is a great step in that direction.
Yeah, great feedback. I think Lido has also grown just because, in general, there's more comfort around staking when you can get it out in a certain amount of days. But it's awesome to hear that both of you are in favor, along with RegexBuster, on this proposal number 20 as well.
You gotta allow the access to sharing screen again.
Oh, sorry about that. What about now?
That works. That works. That works.
All right, cool. So GM, Rocket Pool community, welcome back. It's May 2023 and excited to pass it over to RegexBuster, as there are 2 open Rocket Pool proposals that we have started to do some analysis on. Specifically, RegexBuster has done some great analysis, and without further ado, passing it over to my friend.
Hey, so there's currently 2 open proposals for Rocket Pool. The first one is about ODAO health clarity. This change is coming around because we would like to understand which nodes in the ODAO are actually participating in the voting, or because there's a problem with consensus voting. It's not a big problem, but it's just sometimes it's a little hard to figure out who is actually not voting and who just wasn't able to vote before quorum was reached, or consensus was reached, sorry. So the proposed change is just that half of the nodes will vote instantly on the proposal in the ODAO, and then the other half will wait about 30 minutes before they do their vote. That way we can see, and these are predefined groups, they're about odds and evens based on the node's creation. And so based on the proposal, each side will go first and they'll vote first. Since consensus is more than half of the nodes, we'll be able to see that at least half of the nodes are actively voting or not actively voting. And this gets rid of the problem that some of the nodes may be a little bit slow to actually voting and just voting behind everyone else originally. And you'll be able to see if nodes are actually inactive and not voting, instead of just lumping the inactive and not voting with the people who weren't able to put in their votes fast enough before consensus was reached. So I think it's actually a pretty good proposal, and I think it'll help a lot of people within the ODAO and operators around the ODAO understand which nodes are actually inactive, instead of just not able to reach the voting process before consensus was reached. And then the second one is expanding the IMC charter. And so currently the IMC charter is a little bit it would be straining the current charter to start protecting oracles, especially TWAP oracles. So this proposal is just adding in a couple extra lines to the current IMC guiding principles, so that there's a little bit more of a reason for our IMC group to work on actually protecting these TWAP oracles. Currently, TWAP oracles, they just measure the time-weighted average price of, for this purpose, RPL and Ethereum. And so an attacker could theoretically manipulate this price and throw off a bunch of smart contracts that are currently in the works, because a bunch of smart contracts currently use these TWAP oracles. So by adding in a section to protect these, it's actually rather important. Since we moved from proof of work to proof of stake, it's the attackers no longer lose their capital when they're trying to they don't lose their time and resources they put into proving the work of the block. They actually know when their block is going to be minted anyway, so they can focus all of their efforts onto manipulating these blocks. And it was estimated that about 3 blocks would be needed before it would be reasonable, a reasonable amount of money for a large bad actor to have before they could actually throw off these TWAP oracles and manipulate the smart contracts in a way that's economically profitable for them. It comes out to just under $1 billion, I believe, according to some Uniswap analysis that they've done. And so the second point is just that we don't want the IMC having like a trade-off between protecting ETH and RETH or RPL. And so this is just saying that we don't want to put too many resources towards RPL. We want to focus on keeping ETH and RETH profitable. And so if there were to be a trade-off, we want to focus on ETH and RETH rather than RPL. And so this is just limiting how much they can spend on RPL. And so we've done a little bit of analysis. It's up for people to read if they'd like to. And I think that's about it.
Are you willing to share your analysis tab as well, please? Because it has some helpful TLDRs in the fact that this can get a bit complicated, but I think you've helped summarize it on the value adds here, which make a lot of sense. You know, that first piece, ensuring that the ODAO nodes are not inactive. This looks like a successful strategy that already has large community weight. And then on the IMC piece, you know, ensuring that they focus on RETH to ETH peg versus the ETH to RPL peg. Most smaller investors, which are most investors out there, are going to be holding RETH versus being node operators. And this just seems to ensure more support for those smaller investors from the management of incentives committee. So I kind of summarized it there, but I know you've put a lot more into it beyond this TLDR in the analysis that will be shared. Thanks so much for doing that. Anything else you'd like to share, Regex?
Yeah, so just a quick point of reference for the ODAO health clarity for the smart contract change. It's just a little bit, actually. It's not that much. We're not adding new commands you have to run. There's not anything new. We're reusing old commands. It's just changing how some of those commands are, like when those commands are going to be run. So it's not a big sweeping change to smart contracts. It's just a little change in some of the comparison logic before those commands are run. So yeah.
Makes sense. So thanks so much for your fantastic analysis. Again, this is available via our Twitter, and let us know if you have any questions, or even if you'd like to have any contrary feedback on why these proposals shouldn't move forward or how to better improve Rocket Pool governance. Thanks so much. Moving on to additional topics. Is it all right if I pass it over to you, Cole, and let you share your screen to talk about what we're thinking for a proposal to help grow universities' integration to being Rocket Pool node operators?
Definitely. Let me pull this up real quick.
Actually, I can share. Perfect, you got it.
Got it? Can you guys see my screen? Just double check.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so came up with this idea over the last couple weeks. This is mainly coming from the perspective of someone that ran a blockchain organization at their school. You know, a lot of blockchain orgs do not have a lot of funding, especially the smaller ones. So looking at what Rocket Pool wants to accomplish and looking at how we can also support university programs, I thought this was a potentially good proposal that hits both the goals from Rocket Pool standpoint, but also supports infrastructure and supports decentralizing Ethereum. So getting into it, you know, Rocket Pool's had great success with the Atlas upgrade. Moving to the Leap 8 nodes has, you know, seen strong growth initially for mini pool growth, and a lot of people are moving from a 16 ETH mini pool to an 8 ETH mini pool, and the yields are better behind that, so it makes sense. So getting into some of the overall goals and overview, the plan is to increase education and growth of Rocket Pool through the funding of Leap 8 nodes for blockchain organizations globally. Goals would be to expand awareness of Rocket Pool across colleges and universities, and this would be through incentivizing education materials from the blockchain organizations. And by doing this, you would unlock ETH or validator rewards for the university programs. This would further decentralize Ethereum and also will provide a path to sustainability for these blockchain organizations. Ideally, we want to start with a trial run, as little as 3 universities, as many as 10, basically, and using the education materials, they'd have different ways of earning points. These points would go towards unlocking those validator rewards. So some of this is a little rough around the edges, but as a general thought, it would kind of follow the context of different milestones. So you could have a research article, you could do community call recaps, get people involved in governance process, get people involved in the community, create different activities for people to provide value to the wider ecosystem. I know SSV is looking to integrate with Rocket Pool as well as Eigenlayer and some other ecosystem partners. So getting students involved at this level further helps, one, just education, further helps awareness, and it creates a more inclusive environment from Rocket Pool and for Ethereum in general. So would love just to get feedback from the community. A lot of the reason that we are recording this and bringing this out is that we want this to be battle tested. We want this to make sense from a Rocket Pool level, high level, as well as all the way down to the community level and at the blockchain organization level. So happy to build on this milestone list. Overall, we had a couple of universities that we're all connected to. So initially we could start with Georgia Tech, University of Cincinnati, Northeastern, but we are well connected throughout the ecosystem to 10 to 20 different colleges. So happy to expand that if this goes well. Overall, some of the other specifications, the really crucial part that I look at it from is what this can do for blockchain organizations. I think the education aspect and spreading the word of Rocket Pool is very important, but a lot of these school organizations, they don't have any funding to support their operations throughout the year. And being able to channel that ETH yield allows these organizations to be more sustainable and actually participate throughout the ecosystem. And that is where the learning opportunities come from, especially for students. Without that, we might not be able to grow as fast. And I think using Rocket Pool as a enabler gives us a great opportunity to increase awareness, increase adoption, and get to a place in the ecosystem where we want to be. Izzy, Kent, happy to open up this conversation and talk about it a little deeper.
I love it. I think we've been trying to find a way that we can get more node operators, and you don't want to give away the governance tokens that the IMC committee has, or the different governance groups at Rocket Pool have, because they're looking for sustainable growth, and we've seen that most airdrops are ineffective. So what ways can they actually support long-term growth? And the entry point is quite low now with the 8 ETH LEB8s, and so I think that we can work together to figure out milestones that are impactful. And me personally, I'm most excited about the true integrations that can be made for the Rocket Pool community. So DeFi side is what I'm most passionate about, but exciting stuff is like SSV, and that's the distributed validator technology, or Eigenlayer, that's the restaking on top. And so just tons of potential, and hope to get some community feedback. So we'll be spamming this in Discord and Twitter, and we will steward this forward, and really appreciate the 404 DAO for leading the effort.
Yeah, I think this is a great proposal as well. And I think especially for I think that running a university club that runs a node in itself, that is a great form of education. And even if you're not a technical person, I think understanding how blockchains, how Ethereum runs from the validator or node perspective is actually very, very fundamental to understanding and appreciating the space. And also, since this trial is with the university clubs, that makes the experiment uber replicable. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of universities that if this goes well, then it's just one model, and you can replicate it across a bunch of clubs. So I think the potential for an increased number of node operators is vast. And yeah, I very much agree with what Kent said. Now the barrier to entry is much lower. And yeah, no, definitely we can work on this more.
Yeah, and happy to take any feedback on this as well. This is probably V1 or V2, and how we implement this may vary based off of the limitations with, the ODAO and how they would best want to go about this. And I think we're extremely open to that. But overall, just the potential that this could have on igniting growth and sustainability throughout the university programs could be huge. Even if it goes to small operating expenses for the clubs, or maybe they want to build up a farm of Rocket Pool Lee-Bates, and they can continue to stack that ETH and build up this sustainable farm in a way to support their communities and support developments across their ecosystem, is just something that I think is a huge opportunity. And it might not be exactly how we've outlined, but I think there is some way forward to help out and create more awareness around Rocket Pool, Ethereum, just the entire ecosystem in general.
Let's go. I'm so excited to get community feedback. That's all that I have for today. Are you all willing to turn your cameras back on to say any closing thoughts?
Yeah, just thank you all. Thank you, Kent, for hosting. It's been a pleasure. Looking forward to the next call and making progressive progress on this proposal and just seeing if we can put this into fruition. But thank you guys for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, again, thank you, Kent, for organizing. Very glad to be here, glad to be joining the team, and look forward to working with everyone in the future. And thank you everyone for listening.
Cheers. It's Friday. Hopefully we all get, you who are watching, we're gonna get this published later today, have nice weather like some of us here, but regardless, really appreciate the effort of Izzy and Cole and the other volunteers. We are doing this for free to help grow the Rocket Pool community, because we believe in decentralized Ethereum and the impact that everyone can have on helping to grow Web3's trust with trusted institutions at universities. So that's our focus here. Thanks so much for your time. Take care.